They don't do anything slow. I mean, it is quick. So and the way it works is very much the government's efficient, and so they get involved and they incentivize the private market to get involved, and the private market then becomes very efficient because the processes and regulations are light touch and pro-business. So the whole thing really operates. You can set up a company in Singapore in, I think 2 weeks these days, something like that, with very little cash, specific to how we can offer founders cut through to specific customers and industry more effectively than most, as well as continuous capital into the very late stages. Venture capital, over a decade in venture capital across 3 different regions, Australia being one of those, Southeast Asia, specifically Singapore being the second, and out of the Middle East, specifically Oman with a sovereign wealth fund out of the Middle East. My background was engineering. Grew up in the States, spent studies in Los Angeles as a mechanical engineer, and worked for a company that grew through acquisition. And while I was placed in a role that would look after, in many cases, the restructure or some of the process improvements in the newly acquired businesses, I was looking at the other side of the table at the investment bankers. And it was a different type of work, but a very interesting bit of work for me. I believe it was even Lee Kuan Yew was quoted to say, we're not going to be able to compete with our neighbors based on volume or production or cost of production. So what we're going to do instead is compete on technology and innovation. Combination of fixed end funds as well as an evergreen angel syndicate on the side. The way that we complement our founders' ability to grow their business is by placing mentors with them. These are our most active LPs. So our most active limited partners, they themselves have been individually successful. The reason why they're our investors is because they are successful in their own right, running their own businesses, whether they were tech entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in a different type of industry. Getting them to work closely with the founder is a extremely powerful superpower for the founder, because these folks who have paved their own paths and developed their own networks are then able to transfer that knowledge and those introductions to the founder, and it gives founders better cut through in the industry. That's very important. Founders must surround themselves with the right type of people. They come to us at the pre-seed seed stage. So what that means is there are 2 entrepreneurs in a garage. They've got a couple customers, early traction, and they come to us and they say, look, I got a product in market. I got some early traction. Look how great my customers are interacting with this product. I need more money to sell to more customers. All in all, our investment amounts are part of a greater syndicate of VCs that surround a company, because in our opinion, it takes a village to raise a startup. Well, sometimes we get it wrong. I'm not going to say that we get it right every time. And it is always in consultation with the founder. The founder needs to be bought into this thing because it's their business at the end of the day. We're just there to support. So we do our best to support where we can. And that's one of those areas. And it's very data driven.
And I think having the structure you have with the syndicate where you're all there on the same journey and being able to place mentors where needed is more beneficial than someone going to do a round and then getting 20 disparate investors who do not communicate with each other, all pushing their own agendas, trying to protect their own book. That's going to be a much more disjointed journey for the startup to then try and figure out which of these 20 people do I listen to now, because they're all telling me something different because they're all protecting their own interests.
Well, no, I would challenge. I think any VC that invests in a startup is aligned to the success of that startup and wants to do best intentions, wants the company to do well. Each of these ecosystems, they go classifieds, they go then specific, sector-specific classifieds to consumer-facing that solve specific problems, and then they go into B2B. But that sort of stuff is largely led by the founders. They themselves would know what's best for their ecosystem, and what our job is to do is compare as many solutions as possible to solve that same problem, and then identify the best option and run with that. And as well as a founder grows a business from an early stage to a late stage, the types of advice that founder requires is going to vary. It depends, right? And so the founder in the early stages, their priorities may be about customer acquisition, although I think a founder's priority is always customer acquisition, but it may be about product development, whereas in the late stages, a founder's priority may be mergers and acquisitions. There are several of my peers that suspect that we're now emerging out of that, the so-called tech winter, and are now emerging out of that. So hopefully more venture capital can transfer hands and companies start listing or get acquired more frequently. So it'll be interesting to see how this next period goes.